The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Everybody, WFO Radio is back. That's right. Following the Stampede of Speed in the NHRA Fall Nationals. An amazing race, maybe one of the greatest races we have seen in a long, long time. And we're going to have a couple of great guests on the show. Matt Hagan, Leah Pruett, Tony Stewart Nitro, the first ever double for that team. It's going to be great. And I want to make sure everybody knows that this show has got some great supporters and great sponsors like FTI, Total Seal, Bernie Speed Shop, Foggett, Phillips Connect, of course, Marvin Rodak. We're going to talk about all of them. Stick around. Great stuff, but I want to get right to our guests. I want to come in hot. Matt Hagan goes out there. He wins St. Louis. We don't get to talk to him, right? Because, you know, and thank goodness for him, he wins again in Dallas. Leah gets to the final round in St. Louis, comes up a whisker short, goes out there, wins in Dallas. Let's bring them both on the show to join me now. Here's Leah. Here's Matt, fresh off a little NHRA press conference and now going WFO. Please share the show, guys. Both of you, congratulations. How are you?
Doing awesome. It's awesome. I'm in Arizona and it is incredible weather, so I'm in a perfect spot to enjoy this win, be with Tony, and catch up with everybody in the media about the incredible weekend we had.
And Hagan, where are you? Out on a farm?
Yeah, man, I'm in a truck. I'm always in a truck checking cattle, doing something. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. I feel like I spend a lot of time and kind of just riding around, checking everything out when I'm at home.
So I love this. Look, you guys are both longtime WFO participants when pick up the win. Leah, your 12th win of your career. Like, that's a number that's stacking up now. 12 career wins. Hagan, 49. He's up against one of those big milestones, right? The next win is the 50th. But I would like to make this interview a little different, as in more of a conversation, maybe between the two of you and among the three of us about this amazing situation that you find yourselves in. As points leaders, running very well at just the right time. 2 races to go, you both lead the points. If you had a plan on a whiteboard somewhere at the start of the season, it probably looked something like this. So, Leah, let's start off with you after a big hole shot victory in the final round over Steve Torrence.
Sure. Wow. Well, where does it begin, right? It begins all the way back in the season, but I think specifically St. Louis, they had us flip-flopped in the final for a dragster to go first and then funny car. And Clay and I had same ETs and we were low on boost and we just didn't make the run that we wanted to run. Didn't win that final. Then Matt's behind me. He wins that final. And I remember I got out in front of his car and I'm just like hooting and hollering and just so stoked that he had won. And of course, like the slightest bit of disappointment that I wasn't there to celebrate, to like have our first double up with him. But that just motivates you even more. And one of the conversations that Matt and I had in St. Louis was don't force anything. You already know what your maximum capabilities are. You're already doing them. Your team's already doing them. Don't force them. So fast forward into Dallas, where the mindset that our Mobile One team had was make a nice hit Friday and then absolutely thump them on Friday night. Well, it didn't work out that way. We didn't make it down the track either one of those times. And ultimately coming into Q4, Neil and I were talking, and I shared with him, that conversation that Matt and I had of do what you know how to do, but don't do something you don't know how to do. And we do not, to that time, and still, we did not know how to go 364 or even 365, 366. That had been our team's quickest ET, but they really are huge wholesale changes that you make. It's not just a little bit of flows or a little bit more primary. It's about your entire combination. So shared that with Neil. He made the decision of the way to go, backing down our power by a substantial amount. And then we make it down the track, run a 366, lowest of our entire team after 2 years. And that's kind of what I revert to. So when you talk about the conversations and the dichotomy that Matt and I have and our teams have back and forth, it flows all the way across the board. You know, it took that. Don't push something uphill that's not going to go. Do what you know how to do. So now that we know how to go 366 and also 360s all day long on Sunday, we can make our way into lower 360s.
And Matt, I'd like to hear your side of that. I think you said in the media center, and Tony has made a point of acknowledging that your team came intact. You, Dickie, Alex, Stretch, that team came intact. You guys were ready to win championships, excuse me, and compete for championships. Whereas Leah's team had to be assembled, right? It was put together. But Matt, you said in the media center that you view it as kind of all one team, which I think is pretty. How does that integration worked?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously I've been very blessed to be able to, I think this is Dickie and I's 11th or 12th year together. You know, I won a championship with another crew chief and races and stuff. But I mean, the majority of my wins have come with Dickie, and, you know, we've really, you know, had an opportunity to do well and learn each other. And, you know, we just have a good group around us, you know, and have for a long time. So I think that expectation of, you know, to go out here and to compete and to be in a championship position every year, it's expected, right? You know, I mean, there's kind of like we got more parts and pieces than we've ever had, more blower stuff, more head stuff, you know, this year with Tony and last year with Tony. And, you know, it's not been like, hey, we need this and, you know, well, can we get it down the road? It's like, hey, man, get what you need and we'll make it work, you know? And so that's big. I mean, even though Don Schumacher, you know, he has a massive team. I mean, we still were needing this and needing that. And I think Leah can speak to that a little bit because, you know, with her and Okahara, I mean, they're running, you know, different things here and there that they were pulling from other trailers and stuff that was parked and, you know, valves from this and that. And it's hard to do that. You know what I mean? It's hard to be successful when your crew chief, you know, can't run what he wants to, or, you know, needs this or needs that. And there's just really no excuse over here at TSR. I mean, Tony truly provides us with whatever we need. And, you know, and I don't think that the crew chiefs take that for, you know, take advantage of that. We have what we need, you know what I mean? And it's just, but we also realize that, you know, Tony has dug into his own pocket to be out here to do this for me and Leah and for himself. And, you know, I want nothing more than to just make sure that we're fully funded and Tony doesn't have to spend any of his own money to do it. And, you know, and I think we're getting there, you know, I mean, we've had obviously opportunities now with sponsors. We're kind of starting to turn them away, you know what I mean? And that's never been ever for me in the history of my career anyway. You know, we're always trying to go out here and shake the bush and see what falls out and pick up whatever we can, you know, and you know, but I think that Tony and Leah and this whole TSR environment brings an atmosphere where people want to be here, where sponsors want to be here. There's crossover from NASCAR. There's folks that are, you know, want to be a part of this. American Rebel guy, he's stoked, you know what I mean? He was like, oh my gosh, you know, like you and Leah won, you know what I mean? And he gets to be a part of that. And you know, and Andy just a good guy, but you know, Johnson Horsepower Garage, you know, and you know, just on and on and on, you know, just great folks and great companies that are here, you know. So I think, you know, kind of going back to it, you know, we have a one team, all team element because what Tony does is he crosses this stuff over, you know, as far as from NASCAR stuff to our stuff and you know, just kind of spreads it around, you know. I mean, I know we've had some different one-offs and Leah's got as many driver suits in her locker as I do probably. And it's what it takes, you know what I mean? There's the days of having one sponsor for $4 or $5 million it's just tough to come by, you know what I mean? And so you know, Tony and Leah and everybody put the parts and pieces in place to be able to go out here and really find funding. And like I said, it's been amazing to be able to say, hey, our car's full up, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't know what we can do next year, you know what I mean? We'll sit down and figure it out, but it's not looking like you can get on the car, you know what I mean? So that's huge in itself out here in drag racing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Leah, I want to talk about the run against Doug. First of all, it was pointed out to me that you ran the same 4 drivers in Dallas that you did in St. Louis, just in a slightly different order. That's a little weird. Just doesn't happen that way. But to get a head-to-head matchup against the points leader, that's the way you draw it up. Matt was in a slightly different situation as a couple of the top runners went out in the first round and kind of cleared the field for him to run, and he ran. You had to go through Doug Coletta twice, and you have closed up that points lead. Talk about preparing for that run, because it doesn't get bigger. You couldn't possibly have imagined that scenario when you were in your junior dragster for a Camping World Top Fuel World Championship, the way it has actually turned out, and you've delivered.
No, what I definitely did remember and could remember, because it was so extremely fresh, was running him in Reading on Sunday in the semifinals. So first race, and we ran a 367, and I believe he ran a 368, and that hurt bad. I had done my best job that I could do, but it wasn't good enough. I think Doug he had like a 42 light, and he got us, and he went on to win that race and catch that momentum for him to be in the points lead position. And so we have ran him so much here in the countdown, and then beating him last week in St. Louis, we knew that we could do it. And that Alan Johnson is human and does miss it. And so when I thought about running him second round, first of all, you got to get past first. And first one was a big matchup, always on its own. And then I was really balancing this stokedness of we're in the second round, and this is our opportunity in our own hands to really change with this pivot point of how the championship countdown is in our hands. So I always pray before every run. I'm sure a lot of people do too, but I always pray for maximum safety for both driver and myself, and for me to perform at my best capabilities as a race car driver. You never pray for a win, anything like that. That's not how it goes. And I pray for my team, for them to have the most amount of confidence to be able to make the moves that they need to do. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I don't exactly know what happened to Doug over there in the other lane, whether he broke loose or busted a gasket or what, but I know that we made a very significant run. That's what we needed, was another consistent 368, I think it was, against him. I hadn't taken a breath in probably an hour and a half till after we had won him. That was, from there, I felt like we can do anything. Not that you don't feel that at another time, but right there was some stopping power. And for me, I think a lot more about Neil than I do myself, because I have all week and all my training and plunges and whatever you call it, and all my practice trees that are literally scattered throughout the country, and all to work on myself. And I know what I can do, but I guess when we beat someone like Coletta in the points leader, and we have this momentum constantly running in 360s when we've been falling on our faces and qualifying, that's what infuses me, is that my men now have the fire to breathe, and I just hope that I can keep up with them.
That's awesome. You mentioned Reading, right? Like the start of the countdown, this big deal. And I think about your run there, Matt, 1/10,000th. Out, yikes! Like how this thing might be different if that had gone the other way. I don't know what the distance measurement is on 1/10,000th. I think
it was an inch.
It's like an inch, right? Because Tony lost his first race by 2/10,000ths, and I think it was 2 inches, but that's at 280 miles an hour at 330. Like, who knows? But whatever. We're splitting hairs here. How things might be different, but you had to shake it off. They're like, all right, get back at it. Strap that helmet back on.
Well, what can you do?
Those
right?
are tough. Yeah, those are tough, right? It's just but those ones are the ones that make you, dig a little bit more, right? Like, when I talked to Dickie in St. Louis, I said, man, I'm not here to chew your ass or anything. I just, I know you're doing everything that you possibly can. We've just been on the backside of some good drag races, and we have to be on the front side of them. And if that's, whatever we got to do as far as being more aggressive, pushing harder, taking more of a chance. That's kind of like our season last year. We put a lot of guys on the trailer. We kind of kept Tasca on the trailer every time we ran him, and it was just close drag races and stuff. But there's a couple big races there that we were just on the backside of a good drag race. It's not that we did a bad job, we just didn't do enough, and those are the ones that stuck with me anyway, and the ones that make you want to go up there and try to give 300 or 400s on the tree, because we're close, but we're just not close enough, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that from St. Louis on, it's just kind of his mentality has switched and changed a little bit to be a little bit more aggressive, but he's still racing good on Sunday, man. I mean, and that's, sometimes you do have to back him up, and you do have to go back, to here's what we know, and here's how, like Leah said, don't force the issue. Sometimes you have to just go down the racetrack sometimes. And Dickie's a great racer. He's done this for a long time. So it's kind of hard to question his abilities, right? Like you just have to show up and do your job. You have to, I think everybody talks about pressure, and no one does well under pressure. I mean, if they do, they're just, they're full of it, or they just want to look cocky or whatever. But end of the day, right. End of the day, you got to look at what you can control. What is in your control, right? Like, because I mean, I could sit here and think like, well, this guy needs to go out and we got to do this, and my crew chief needs to do that, and my crew guys need to do this. But what do I have control over? What can I change for the outcome of our team? And it's really kind of minimal, as far as leaving on time, keeping it in the groove, and turning the wind light on. And and when you think about those little things like that, it's just it takes that pressure away for me anyway, because I don't have control over who's putting the head on. I don't have control over if the rods are torqued. I don't have control over what flows Dickie opens up there. But I do have control over that what's in front of me on that starting line, and I do have control of keeping it in the groove. And I think that, man, that hat was small on it. I think that I think that that's what you have to focus on. You know what I mean? Because you can get overwhelmed by thinking about a championship and worrying what we got to do. And when you just dummy it down and simplify, like, just control what you have control over. For me, that's how I've been able to deal with pressure throughout the years, and just focus on doing the best job that I can for my team, and that you've surrounded yourself by the best people you possibly can, and they're going to do their job because they don't want to let you down, and you're going to do your job because you don't want to let them down, and I think that's just how I approach it, coming in these next two races.
That is awesome. So let's go ahead to the final. Like Leah, you were able to beat Clay, who came out on top in what I called our first ever, NASCAR to NHRA team owner final round. Rick Ware versus Tony in the final at Top Fuel. That was cool, showcasing the new owners. And Clay is very popular, but you exercised that demon a little bit in the semifinal. Not that Clay is a demon; it's just a term. But now you got to run Steve Torrence in Texas at Dallas. Like, that's, if you drew up and he's in the championship fight too, like, so this is a significant final round. And you said it in the semis, like, he's got a lot of fans here, but so do we. And you're right about that. Just talk about like getting your mind right for that final, where every round is a 40-point swing. You get 20, but your competitor doesn't. Thus, it's 40 points to the championship total, and whoever won the race would be the points leader.
So I guess if I go back to what you're talking about, Clay, getting to run him in the semis. So after losing to him in the finals for St. Louis, running him in the semis, I love running Clay. I do. I feel like him and I are cut from kind of the same cloth, and we always have a lot of fun before and after. He's always videoing, but I had heard that he had done a wheel stand, and I didn't know. Clearly, I can't see that in the other lane, and it had taken him a long time to get off the track, and then after that, I had heard, and so my concern was, is he okay? Because those definitely can hurt. But I guess once I saw that he was okay, going to the finals against the Torrence, I mean, we all joked, is Billy going to show up to that semifinal round? That he's there as a blocker car. It's a good car right off the trailer. It ran at 71 on Friday. Like, what are they going to do? And I was massively impressed that Billy showed up. His team showed up. Steve, whether they allowed it or whatever it might be. And then they raced. And then their round was within 7 thousandths of each other. And I was like, that person who won, which happened to be Steve, I go, that is them flexing right now, and that properly so, that they don't have to lay down for each other to get to that final round. And I'm going to run that person, and we're going to flex the best that we can. And to Matt's point, our flexing is doing what we know how to do and small pushes here and there. So I was pumped because, you know, I have a long history with Torrence, and then I know how much this race means to him, but I also know how much this race means to us. And Steve and I spoke to each other before. We're both watching the light, watching the tree, you know, at 5:15, 5:30, that time of day. Nobody wants to be in the left. It's literally it's so impossible to see the stage bulbs or even the amber lights come on. Like, it's almost a death sentence if you're in the left lane at any time between 5:15, 5:45. So Steve and I know that. We're like, you know, doing everything but to talk about that. We tell each other, like, I went to like give him like, I don't know, a Texas, like, you know, like high five. He's like, F that, high five, you know, a hug up. Because we've been through a lot and we respect each other a lot. And I think that's what makes, you know, when you go to a final round against the biggest and baddest, and it's him in the Lone Star State, and he's trying to be the lone one left, it's infusing. It's not, you don't race for me. I don't race out from a place of I don't like so-and-so. I mean, I ran one of those people earlier. That doesn't really do too much for me. I race out of who's the absolute best and from a positive place. So it was, you know, I don't have a move when I get out of the car. There's some, you know, Austin stands on the wing. Torrence has got his guns up and everything. I don't have a move because I don't think about those things before. I just think about winning. But when I saw my win light in that final round against Steve, then he had blown by, and inside the car, I just did a nice little like pew pew, like as a respect to him, but nothing that was out loud and in charge. But there's beating Steve. I told Matt, I go, you racing John Forrest in the final like you did there is. I go, that for me, that's me racing Steve in the finals, like you racing John Forrest. Like that's just for me kind of always the team to beat, and especially this time of year.
Well, and that's kind of why I'm coming at it this way, because I was going to ask Matt that next. Like, you both raced people that have been a dominant factor in your class for a lot of while you have been racing. Steve winning those 4 championships in a row. John Forrest is John Forrest, and resurgent. Like, I know, Matt, you know that there's a lot of people that were pulling for John Forrest just because every win could be the last win we see John Forrest have, right? And so, but you don't care about that. You got to go out there and win for you and your team, but you know what was going on over there. And by the way, he was pretty quick.
Yeah, you know, I mean, John ran good all weekend. I mean, that was the car I was actually looking at, you know, all weekend. I said, you know, we'll probably meet that guy down the road, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, the biggest thing with John, they want to get their first win for the year, you know what I mean? When you put it in perspective how tough Funny Car is, I think there's only been 5 winners this year. There was only 7 winners last year. So think about how many folks that are out here that don't have a trophy from the last 2 years, you know, and we got 6, you know what I mean? And I'm really pushing hard before this season's up to get my 50th win. And, you know, but whatever the cards will be, what they're going to be. We just got to go up there and do the best job, you know, and sometimes, like you say, it's out of your control. You know, you lose by 10 1,000ths of a second or something like that. But I just know that, there's a lot of heavy hitters out there, and there's nobody that I feel like you just get a bye with, man. You don't get just to walk through somebody, you know. I mean, Dave Richards beat us the other day, you know what I mean? And that's a car that you feel like, you know, is a good car, but they don't have the funding. They don't have the things that they need to really run hard as we should, you know what I mean? And we go out there and get beat, you know what I mean? And it's embarrassing almost, because, you know, you're better than that, but you also have to, you know, pat them on the back and be like, dude, great job. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's tough as a competitor to walk over there and do that. But you know, I mean, that's huge. That's a huge round for them. You know what I mean? And, you know, everyone's has their own milestones of what they're trying to do and accomplish out here in the sport. And, you know, John Forrest has accomplished everything, right? You know, and it's just a matter of how many times to do it. But, you know, as much as I like running John, it was one of those things where everybody was kind of rooting for him to get his first win, you know what I mean, of the season. And I mean, I'm be honest, I'm glad that it didn't get it against me, you know what I mean. But it just kind of one of those things. I just, there's a couple guys I really like racing, and Robert's one of them. We're, like Leah was saying, cut from the same cloth. We don't mess around up there. You do your burnout, you back up, and you get the thing staged up to, you go up there and race your car. And Robert's like that. And I feel like it's so funny because I look at our reaction times, and mine and his is within, a couple thou of each other every time we run each other. And it's just like, so you feel like, we're both coming for it. And it's really kind of like crew chief, what cars we got. And both of our crew chiefs are kind of cut from the same cloth, you know what I mean? So those are the type of folks that I like, because it makes me feel like I have to push, and I feel like it makes Dickie feel like he needs to push, because, the last thing you want to do is get beat by those guys and have to hear about Proc Rocket and this and that and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of, it makes you dig, man. And that's what I love, is it's like, I've never gone up there going like, oh man, I'm scared to run this guy. It's just like, for me, it's like, this is my moment, right? Like, this is what we work for. Like, then now's the time to step up and make this happen for our team. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that mentality of give me the ball, coach, but it's still, I think sometimes people get in the situation in their mindset that they're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be a tough competitor and I don't want to race him. I'm just like, those are the folks that I want to race to begin with, because I don't want it to be in someone else's hands, to my fate. If we can get like those early big cars, that I 100% would rather run them, first, second round than I ever would, finals, that kind of stuff. So because they're good cars and they're going to go rounds, and I just assume go through at the beginning of the race is let them pick up some points and go from there. So yeah, that's just kind of the mentality of it, I think, for me.
I like hearing that Matt doesn't like hearing about the Proc Rock. we as as announcers, we get paid, not just those of us that are in venue and on NHRA TV or NHRA on Fox, like everybody in the sport. We talk about what's in front of us, right? And it is probably great for the people being talked about in that moment, but everybody else is probably pretty aggravated about it because it's not that. Like, Proc Rocket. That means they're winning. All right, I want to start to shift gears to the final two races. But given the circumstance, I also want to learn some more team dynamic here. You're both graduates of, the DSR College of Drag Racing, and now you're off on your own, but you're doing it together and you're on the same team together, and your crew guys, same deal. Neil, so many came up through that school, let's call it that way. But Leah, I would like to know a characteristic that Matt demonstrates that you would like to emulate, like something that he does that you'd like to, to pick up for yourself or have tried to pick up for yourself. And Matt, I'm going to ask you the same question about Leah, just because you spend a lot of time together, doing interviews together, hanging out together, working together, and you have for many years. You got to know each other and your styles, and they're a little different. So I'd love to know what you'd like to take or have taken from Matt and the way he is.
So I think my husband would disagree with this because I'm a pretty up person all the time when I'm in the race car. The music that I listen to, like, very, very intense. But as the race day goes on for me, I find myself getting into just what does it take, with the downloads and the parachutes and the fuel and getting into the zone. And I'm not like this wild cheerleader. I mean, I am, and I'm slapping butts and everything like that, but I just get farther into this zone. Well, I feel like, as I've been around Matt now and we keep going rounds, his intensity level goes up. And that's something that I'll ride back in the tow vehicle with him, from the semifinals or what it might be. Or we're doing interviews with each other. And I get to be around him, and I find that his energy that he has as he goes later into the rounds is just completely going through the roof, where I'm more dialed in with what we're doing and spending time with the crew chiefs. And I look at it, I don't know, I just feel like I'm going in this different perspective. So I picked up on that in Dallas, and I'll actually, Mike Damagala, I'm up there with him. I'm talking to him about fuel and just do some small changes. And then he goes and he just slaps me. And he's like, get excited. And I go, I am excited. I just don't want to show it. And I don't know, because it's not that I'm afraid, but it's what I need to do in order to stay in my zone. So I wish that I could be this high energy person and perform at this top level like Matt does. But again, these are learning nuances about yourself and about your competitor. So I felt employed that I could be excited and proud about being in this final and not feel boastful about it. I think that's because it really goes against like my personality, and that's why I'm not that way. But I look at Matt and I go, he is that way because he's deserved to be there. That's his personality. And F yeah, like come get it, scream all the way to the final, pass that into the winner's circle. So I've felt a lot of personal pride. That's what I've learned from Matt. And I think that has helped me personally and professionally.
I love that answer. And listen to you guys talk. Matt obviously has a lot of influence because you're talking about flexing and pumping and all these different terms. And, since Matt got jacked, what about you, Matt? Let's flip that script. And, Leah, in the way she handles herself, what characteristic would you like to take away or emulate, et cetera?
Yeah, obviously Leah has really come into her own here in the last couple of years of driving these top fuel cars. They're extremely hard to drive, right? So there's so much stuff going on, and people think you just stand on the gas and go out there. But I think Leah picks up on stuff really quickly, you know what I mean? And she implements it into her routine, and she has a opportunity to say, hey, look, this is working for me, this is not working for me, and sometimes I feel like I get into a situation where I'm a little superstitious with it. I'm just like, I don't want to change this up or something up. But I think my biggest thing with Leah is like she's so well spoken, right? And she says so much great stuff with sponsors, and and she goes up there and gives a great interview, and I'm just like, I can't breathe, and I'm trying to talk, and she just it flows, you know what I mean? And she does a great job hitting all the sponsors and all the folks that are out there paying the bills and doing that kind of stuff. And I look back and I'm like, damn, it's on my car. Why can't I just read it off of my car? You know what I mean? But she does a great job, of being well spoken and composed, and she does a great job on the racetrack too. I mean, to win on a hole shot there in the final when the pressure is about as big as it could possibly get. I really feel like she's taking changes and doing things that she needs to do to be successful, to be a champion in Top Fuel. And I think that's what it takes, is you have to adapt, right? And she's adapting very well, and sometimes I feel like I get in my own routine of what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And sometimes I don't adapt as well as I should, I think sometimes, so I would like to be able to do that a little bit more. She's done that. She's proven that she can be successful doing that. And then I just got to learn to talk, you know what I mean? Like, I think if we could get that down, I'd be pretty good. I think that between her and that Ashley kid, they're about the most well-spoken, versed folks out there, and they take care of our sponsors, they take care of us. And that's huge, you know what I mean? Cause they pay the bills, we can't do this without sponsors, so it's just,
Matt, I think you're fine. I don't know what interview it was. Maybe it was your winners of St. Louis and you American Rebel Dodge Mobile One. You're like, I don't know. It's on my fire suit. You can read it. I thought that was one of the best lines. I'm like, it's truly what they're for. And so something that I struggle with a little bit is, actually, I was told that we have about 15 seconds top end interviews. That's what they should be. 10, 15 seconds. You go over that, you might be fantastic, but they're not going to use it. So when you have a big, powerful run or something that's substantial, means points, you want to talk about that. But you need to get your partners in, especially if you have MVPs for that race, whatever it might be. Getting that condensed in those 10 seconds, that's a more difficult task than most people feel like it is. And so I take my time from shut down, I'm on the radio screaming. By the time I turn out, I'm remembering, Code 3 Associates building disaster-capable communities across the world, across the country, to Rush Truck Centers. We're in their hood. We have all of these dealers. Like, I take those 20 seconds before I get out of the race car to rethink, to just reestablish myself in that zone. And that's, something that I think a lot of other teams and drivers don't have to think about and do. Matt and I have such the rotating scheme of partners that we're blessed to have that, you might go, did I put on the wrong suit today? Which cap kids are we speaking to? What programs are we about? So like for this day, American or Sunday, like for American Rebel, for the safes, for the beer company, for Mobile One, like we are Dodge all of the time, and we are forever, like in my opinion, we are the epitome of Dodge Mopar Motorsports and have been to get here. So for us to be able to share this partner love on such a monumental day, I think is awesome. It's going to help our company grow even more. Like Matt said, his car's pretty much locked up for next year, which is amazing. Mine's close to getting there. That's something we've never had. I mean, we've gone race to race. I've been racing St. Louis before and told that I wasn't going to Dallas, unless I found $100,000 within 4 days. Like that. That's just the type of world that we don't have to live in anymore. And I feel like that's where you get to see us flourish. So, Matt, we're fine if we miss a partner here or there. We'll pick it up.
Pick it up for me.
Well, that's what made you strong.
I'm gonna start taking notes when I make the
That's what
turn
made
up
you
there.
strong. Exactly. All right, listen, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you guys got to go. You've been burning up the media stuff. We got Vegas, we got Pomona. The championship is on the line. But my final question, you can both answer together. Like this Stampede of Speed concept, all the extra, the saddle, the $15,000, the boots, the drone show, the concerts, the 10 days. I was there for the whole thing. Matt, you and I were there last year. I would like to hear you both expand upon it, because I think it's a roadmap for others as applicable with the money they've got. I know that this is a unique situation in Texas, but it was their biggest attendance since the 90s at the Fall Nationals, the race of the century, I'm calling it. And so, Leah, you start off like clearly it seems to be working.
Sure. Well, I would say that they're pioneers, so to speak. And I haven't been there for the whole week, but I followed on social to see how things were going and seeing the Champions Night. And everywhere you look, between the steer and the fan fest that was happening, the concerts, the drone show on Friday night, always something that was going to talk to your senses. And I remember thinking multiple times throughout this weekend is, what can I do better to help ensure that we have stands that are packed for these? Because it's due. Where else are you going to go to enjoy this type of entertainment? And I feel like, again, that's what pioneering is all about. Maybe the masses don't exactly know how great of the experience that this entire event is. And this weekend was the first time that I got to really soak it all in, I don't want to say pay enough attention, but you didn't have to pay attention. It was everywhere you looked. Like, it's your fault if you didn't have a good time, like outside of your race team, because of how great. So I've talked with Billy, and what can we do? We're going to work on stuff to help get that reach out better next year, lasso those fans back in to experience it. We don't have to make anybody love it, because the activities that are there are unbelievable. Now I think it might get it's a little dicey when you get later into the season and the championship hunt, because maybe it's just me talking, but the intensity of the teams are at an all-time peak, and you got Party Central over here of everything's fun and just enjoying the day, but then you have teams that are like way more focused than on enjoying a day. They're focused on 1 point between them and the world. So I guess fans get to see the entire spread. It's like the cheese platter of every single spread you can. And, for those that truly do live being an American and are proud of being an American, like, this is a race that you stand on your feet and you feel like you're in the right spot in the country and stand for something. And that makes me proud and makes me happy.
Yeah. Matt, agree?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that, every track can take a note from their book here. I mean, between them and Bill Bader, man, I mean, I think that those events are kind of where it's at, you know what I'm saying? So, no different than anything else. You want to make the drag race a destination, right? You want to have an opportunity for these folks to come out and do other things than just look at drag racing, right? Like they people's attention spans, you usually, we have a racetrack at home and you do studies and it's 2 hours. You get people captured for 2 hours, and so, but then they move on to the next thing. So for me, I think that they're doing a good job of, you get to watch the racing and then you go back and they have other things to do and bands and, all this stuff kind of going on. And it's like, you want it to be a destination and a drag race breaks out, you know what I mean? And it just kind of kind of one of those things where, the promotion and the 10 days before and the crossover from other things and all that kind of stuff, that's what it takes. I mean, obviously they're spending money to make money, and that's an old saying, but it rings true, I think. And I think that we as a sport, NHRA, can do a better job of promoting what we're doing. And like I said, it takes money to make money, and NHRA should take a note from this track and say, hey, look, this is how our setup needs to look like, and this is what we need to do at all these races, and figure out how that implements and applies to certain tracks that are down on attendance, and how do we make that to come up, and it's all about, getting people locked in and wanting to come there, because like Leah said, once you're there, it sells itself. The same with our sponsors, it's just getting them to the racetrack, man. Like once they're there, they're like, wow, this is incredible. And but we got to get them there. We got to figure out a way to make this happen, to whether it's the party or whether it's the band, whether it's roping mom with the kids in, or whatever we got to do. We got to get them there, and then we could, we have fans for life after that. I mean, you give a kid a piston or a part or something like that, and they come back and they show you pictures next year and they want you to sign them and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting the fans involved, and I'm just really excited that you take a track like that that's done that, and got money back for the saddle and the 15 grand, and and that goes back to a team, and it's just big, and it's what it takes to get out here and do that.
Amazing. Well, next year you guys will be at the Champions Dinner, and you'll be responsible for selecting the meal, some aspect of it. And I look forward to that. It's going to be great. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for spending half an hour with us here on WFO Radio and celebrating the first ever Tony Stewart Nitro Double Up, and many more in the future. Thank you both. Good luck in the remainder of the championship, and we'll see you in Vegas.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Later. There goes Leah. There goes Matt. And how about it? Let's get some comments in the comment section, guys. Like, what do you think of those two? And what do you think of what we've got going for the remainder of the season? Seeing some comments that are coming across, just amazing stuff. And I appreciate all of you guys for weighing in on this. And, I love our sport so much. I love our sport. Like right now is a very positive time. There's a lot of good stuff going on. And we got 2 races to go in the championship, 2 races to go before it is all over. Who will be the world champion? We just don't know. And that is what is awesome. It's just 4 points between Leah and Doug and 13 between Leah and Steve. So less than 1 round, the top 3 contenders in Top Fuel. That is going to be awesome. And in Funny Car, it's a little bit more, but not very much. Remember, Robert Height had a significant lead going into that final race last year and didn't come out on top. So we got 2 races remaining, one of which is points and a half. So there's a long way to go. I want your comments and your thoughts about what we witnessed at the Stampede of Speed and the direction this is all going to go. But that's going to happen after I tell you about the people who literally enable me to go WFO each week. I could not do it without the folks at Foggett. This is for Lucas Oil Series racers, bracket racers, anybody with an engine that they want to protect the inside. I got a can back here that I keep on display so you can see exactly what it is. This is Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams Company. You spend all kinds of money getting your cylinder walls perfect. It's not something that just happens. You make them perfect with the machining process that technically we're learning all about with Total Seal. But then you're going to let it rust and corrode at the end of the night? No way. That's what Foggit is for, Foggit. And you can get a can online. You can get a case online as well. Speaking of Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology, an amazing new episode online right now. Hidden Horsepower, the podcast, Shane Tecklenburg, the guest. If you ever wanted to know anything about EFI and certainly the mentality of what it takes to approach electronic fuel injection, you want to check out this episode. Hidden Horsepower, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and make them your first call, not your last call. Phillips-Connect, and that's the website, right? It's Phillips Connect, but I say Phillips-Connect.com because I figure you're going to go to the website, so why not tell you the website so you can go check it out. But it's smart trailer technology, and it's engineered to help people in the transportation industry prevent issues because they have sensors that are internet connected that they can keep you in the know, whether it be wheel bearings, brake pressures, brake lights, all of these things that could cause you a problem down the road and keep your trucks off the road. Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com. And if you'd like to email me for a personalized introduction, I can do that for you. Joe@WFOradio.com. You learned a little bit about the folks at FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters at the start of the show. You don't have to go very far to know that the folks at FTI are on board with a lot of the .90 winners, big money bracket winners, top sportsman, top dragster, pro modified, anything with a lot of power that needs a reliable transmission, FTIperformance.com. And of course, the folks at Bernie Speed Shop. They're buying and selling cars. They're doing frame-off restorations. They're doing unbelievable paint. They sell e-bikes from the dealership. They got 100,000 square feet. And if you've got a muscle car that you're looking to sell, they can sell it on consignment. Go to bernies.com. Check them out. That's Josh Hart's company. Plus our great friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School makes a great gift. The Dragster Adventure. Send the person in your life who doesn't know from drag racing on the Dragster Adventure, and suddenly they'll know and they'll understand. The folks at samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Speaking of EFI and learning how to do it, or CNC programming, they've got classes in all of these things located in the Houston, Texas area. And then there's my buddy Marvin Rodak, who each of the past 2 days I have enjoyed a little Stampede of Speed Reserve. Maybe you couldn't make it to the Stampede of Speed, but you want a little coffee that is the flavor and the flair and the energy of the Stampede of Speed. Go call Marvin, 817-924-6821. Last night on Ignition, we did our audio-only Ignition podcast. The Patreons were the co-hosts. You can become a Patreon by supporting the show. You get the VIP backstage pass, patreon.com/WFO radio. And they get something. You know, is it worth it? That's up to them. I try to make it worth it. I put a lot of effort in, but, you know, only sometimes. We've got our WFO store where you can get all our swag and all our drip and all the gear and the fire shirts and all that stuff. And everybody is asking about Project Pontiac, which is going to be my own racing operation as we try to put me back on the track to race in the NHRA Super Street category with my old bracket car and see if I can get after it again. Is it possible? I flashed this photograph on the screen. That's Bobby Graham. He is one of our WFO Patreons. He is like, remember when I don't know, maybe you don't remember, but I'm sure you've seen videos. I wasn't even around when this happened, but remember when the Beatles came to America and all those teenage girls, they were chasing them all around, like in the movie Hard Day's Night, which again, I'm much too young for that, but I know about it. The Bobby Graham is like, well, Matt Hagan is the Beatles in the analogy. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Let's put it that way. We all had a great time. The WFO Patreon VIP Listener Club. This is Barry and Christy Meyer-Johnson. Amazing. We had such a good time. I want to thank Jacob McNeil and Scott Palmer for putting a WFO decal right on their windscreen. The drone show was spectacular. Like, this is something that everybody is talking about. It was a first, a historic first in drag racing history. I'm sure people have got videos of the drone show. I've got some. Here's our meetup. That's Joe Lee Stanfield and Dave and Sue Morris and Marvin Rodak, everybody. They had a party on the track Saturday night. Like, everybody just came down. This is as it's clearing out. Everybody came down to the track. It was pretty incredible. This is my photograph of LP coming off the stage. Look at that stage, guys. They had it was really cool. And I want to mention the moment of the two saloon doors opening and two drivers walking at each other, forced to look at each other for the first time. It really changed the dynamic. And I've already put a letter, in the suggestion box at NHRA that we need to build a second set of doors for the drivers to come out so they're not together. When we bring them out as matchups at the pre-race show, we got to keep them separated, because the moment of Austin Prock and Antron Brown coming out of the saloon doors and walking towards each other and seeing each other and realizing what was up, like, I'll remember it forever. It was a big moment. It was a great moment. In a normal situation, they go up the stairs together, they're behind the doors together, and they kind of like buddy up, hey, we're together. You have to be a real jerk to be mean in that situation. But when you keep them separate and they open the saloon doors like two gunslingers in the Old West, and they have to walk towards each other to get to the communal stage stairs, it was something. It was something. You should go back and watch on NHRA TV. Michael Heiner, they got the money. Friday Night Live, low ET of the year to that point, rocking his WFO gear. Cowboy Mark Powick, Just a great event, top to bottom. Doug Gordon scoring his championship. That was fantastic. Mickey Prestige, the sound guy, became a legend of the Texas Motorplex. So cool. And all the different elements, the winner's circle stage. This is an event that is must see. And if you're a track operator, must emulate. And this is the photograph. Like, I'm assuming this is Mark Robillis. It was sent from Ashley from Tony Stewart. Like, look at that. What a great photo of Leah. And with 2 races to go, they both lead the points. What are we going to see? I try to keep it positive on this show. I try to keep it positive. I was annoyed recently by a certain, story out there. Like, okay, we know by now, that Steve Torrence is not a fan of the countdown. We know this already. Like, every year, if I had the energy, and more importantly, the time to go back every year and find, the calendar of the Steve Torrence doesn't like the countdown article to come out. Like, I feel like it's an every year thing. I feel like I've seen this all before. I am aware, and everybody in drag racing is aware, that Steve Torrence doesn't like the countdown. Is now the time to drop that story right in the middle of a very exciting countdown that everybody's having a good time? Hey, everybody's having fun. Let's drop something on it to cause a negative reaction. That'll be great. Especially it's something that we already know. But whatever. All right, let's see what everybody has to say. Sandy Brown. I go to every event. NHRA TV. See you in Pomona. Exactly, Sandy. That's so true. When you watch NHRA TV, it's like you're at every event. You hear Reinhart and Logan attacking each other. You hear Galvin. You hear myself. There's all kinds of fun and back and forth and crazy moments. And that's what NHRA TV is for. Diehard fans who want to feel like they're at every event. And Leah agrees and has also been to several tracks. Slut Bunny was just happy about the whole interview. Let's see. Monica, great interview today. Thanks. Those two together, right? Like, the best part was those two. And then there was me. Like, you don't have to do a lot when you've got that kind of talent on the screen. Leah and Matt together. And I love hearing them talk about each other, because people draw inspiration from one another and motivation, and they pump each other up. And it's clearly happening at that team, guys. What will happen, we don't know, but Tony Stewart leads the points in the 2 Nitro categories. Need to add monster trucks like Nola was doing before the reschedule. Do we want monster trucks? I don't know. They're things to add and things to not add. Like, I don't know. Monster trucks, maybe. The monster truck is never bad, but monster trucks got their own thing, and they're off-brand to us. Monster trucks are loud and slow and for kids, and they crush things, and they do big jumps. We had motocross and Harley Davidsons doing burnouts and smoke and everything, but the monster trucks have their own branded show, and they are a direct competitor to drag racing, which is about speed and acceleration and competition and performance. It's not a thrill show. It's a competition. That's what people don't understand. There's a big difference between putting on a show. A lot of people think that NHRA should change to monster trucks. Absorb that. That's a good off-season conversation. Absorb that. To eliminate the idea that it's competition and instead make it just a show for people to watch. Long burnouts but like, who wins is not who is the best. Who wins is who is orchestrated to win because they're the most popular and it's going to make the crowd the happiest. For instance, in the final round, if NHRA was like a monster truck show, when Matt Hagan is running John Force, who do you think, wins? Because it's not a competition anymore. It's a show. So, of course, if you want people to leave happy, you would orchestrate it for John Force to win because, he's the GOAT and all that stuff. Who wants that? Not me. But people do. They'll tell you. Sandy loves WFO, Facebook user, 2 champs 2023. Could be. Let's see. Tony Stewart Nitro is legit. I'd like to see Doug win because he's waited too long, so I'd love to see Leah too. Yeah, right? Well, Steve in his column, very interesting story. It's an auto week, right? Like Steve with some comments that, I don't know, I feel like people are going to take them the wrong way. Like it's a shot at Doug. That Doug deserves the championship. My dad said it, Doug deserves the championships. He does, but Steve says you got to earn the championship, and Steve is right. Like deserve is one thing. Does Doug deserve a championship? Yeah, he's got so many years of great driving and, time served in NHRA. So many years, heartbroken so many times. He's got to win it. You got to earn it. And they may. If you told Alan Johnson 2 to go, you're 4 out of the lead. Take it or not take it. Cool or not cool? He would say, cool. This guy likes his show. Thank you. Subscribe, tell your friends, share the show. That's all you can do. Subscribe, tell your friends, share the show. We love that. This person, Lee's been racing longer than Doug. No, that's not true. Doug has been racing forever and ever. Great job last weekend. Looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the gang in Vegas. Vegas, baby, Vegas. Super excited about Vegas. Oh, man. I'm going to go into that ball. I'm going to try to figure out how to get into the Sphere. Leah, thanks again, Joe. Thank you, Leah. Thank you for always making time. Leah has, of her 12 wins, I think they've all been documented on WFO Radio, which is amazing. By the way, 12 wins is no joke. When you got Hagan, who's got closing in on 50, that's one thing. But Leah has hey, I got a sponsor. Sponsor's gone. Hey, I got a ride, a race team. Here we go. Winning races. Up. Person stops racing. Now she's got a permanent home. And look, she's contending for the championship. Pretty amazing. Doug Coletta has been racing way longer. Yeah, no, Doug is, it's an age thing. Let's not go there. It's just an age thing. Scott, great show today. Everybody loves Matt and Leah together. I agree. Any word when NHRA is holding the press conference? I don't know what the press conference is, what you're talking about in specific. I know that Leah and Matt were on with NHRA right before they were on with us, and that was for the media only, and ours was public for everybody. My first podcast live and only with WFO, especially since it was all TSR and, of course, LP. Well, Sandy, hopefully you'll come back. Subscribe, click the bell, be ready, write a review, all that stuff, because they're a lot like this. You dressing up for Halloween in Las Vegas? I'm not. I had an idea earlier this month, but I already forgot it. I don't know what it is. I have work responsibilities. And my work responsibility is not such that I can dress in a costume. Nor do I want the burden of having to carry anything. It's as simple as that. Joe, I look forward to seeing all will be the 2023 world champions. So do I. Dallas is now the biggest race of the season. Yes, I said it, bigger than Indy, in my opinion, says Top Fuel 723. That's not true. Definitely in the running, it's maybe the biggest event, but it's not the biggest race. Because the thing that makes the Stampede of Speed so monstrous is the Stars of Texas concerts and the introduction to Nitro drag racing and jet cars that we did for all those concert goers, which isn't necessarily a race. It's more of an exhibition, but it is a long 12-day festival of speed. It's the Stampede of Speed. And the fact that they've got fireworks and jet cars and drone shows and Scott Palmer's Nitro sideshow and some racing on Tuesday night. And we even had the mayors of Waxahachie and Ennis race each other on the track. All kinds of fun stuff happening the whole time. And it should be a framework for every racetrack. There should not be a racetrack on the tour that has an NHRA national event that hasn't created something a little extra. I don't expect everybody to do the Stampede of Speed, but like Vegas has the park with the food trucks and the fake grass and the bars, and it's a great place to watch. And you could just hang out there all day long playing cornhole and watch cars go by. It's beautiful. They didn't have to do that. They did it as an extra thing. And every track should be thinking, how can we do something extra to win more fans? Can the countdown most points wins? I don't know. You only say that until someone has locked up the championship with 3 to go. And then you will change your opinion, my opinion, about your opinion. You'll only say that. This is better, but whatever the topic, right? Should America remain free? Should America remain free? Let's ask 100 people. I bet you there's 20 that say no. And you give them a loud enough megaphone, then suddenly people are like, maybe America shouldn't remain free. There's always going to be a contrarian in the bunch with an off opinion. The countdown is better than the previous deal. Now, they would run totally different. And Steve Torrence's point in this article on Auto Week is basically that Doug Coletta hasn't had a good season. And, we don't know what they would have done differently. First of all, they were in the canopy car that just wasn't working as good as this car is. But people would race differently under a different system. Everybody knows the rules when they come in the door. Everybody knows exactly what the situation is. And they run for that situation. They would run differently in a different situation. They would strategize differently. And would that be entertaining? Would it not be entertaining? We don't know. We don't know. I like the countdown. And there's a lot of people that like the countdown. And there's a lot of people that we've seen it both ways now. And it's great both ways, honestly. But I like the extra intensity of the countdown. I don't think because you win the first 5 races of the year, when everybody else is, stumbling around trying to figure out their setup, and then you stumble down the stretch and you still win the championship, that's not good. That's bad. Hey, I won 7 races. I won 7 of the first 10, but then stunk out the joint in the last 10, but still won the championship because I got the most points in the first 7 races. That's not good. That's bad. And that's the kind of stuff that happened under the old system. One thing about it, the person who wins the countdown is winning races at the end of the season, and they're running well, and they're going rounds. It's not possible to do poorly in the countdown and win the countdown. And that's kind of what we're arguing for. But look, Steve has his opinion. We know it. It's like, how many times do we need to know the opinion? Steve doesn't like the countdown. Got it. Let's write another story. Congrats, TSR. Great show. Didn't I say I wasn't going to get negative? Add more jet cars. I agree. Steven loves WFO. He's new to the show. He loves WFO. Thank you very much. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Go buy some coffee from Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. I enjoyed the motorcycle exhibition this past weekend. So did I. Something going on out there. Hey, like Charlotte did with those guys doing the backflips. Hey, there's some downtime. Send this guy out. And he's doing wheelies and endos and he's riding around and he's doing great stuff. And everybody's like, wow, 7 minutes. And just as the normal person begins to get bored, they're like, okay, he's done that again twice. Then it's over. And we're back to Nitro. This guy says more jet cars as well. Everybody loves jet cars. And to end the night, why not? Raiders playing against the Bears in Chicago. Yeah, Dolphins-Eagles is the big game this weekend. The new series sponsor presser. Man, I don't know when that's going to happen. The series sponsor changes at the end of next season, Jim. Next season. Camping World is on with us the next season also. So you're jumping the gun here, as are so many people. You got to read more. Thank you, Facebook user. Any hints on when we might be hearing the announced dates for 2024? The announced dates for 2024. Any hints? Yeah, I got a hint for you. Go to NHRA.com. Look under schedule. And there, you'll see the dates. You mean the TBD dates? Okay. No. People are already talking about them, man. You don't have to go far to figure out what's what. Driving from Phoenix to Vegas to cheer on my favorite drivers and hoping to meet Joe again. Well, I'll be there. And everybody should be there. Vegas is incredible. You know, we had our fan meetup, the Patreons at the Stampede of Speed. We still haven't selected where the big Patreon meetup, WFO meetup, is going to be for 2024 yet, but we're going to be working on that. And I hope to be back at the Stampede of Speed. I think everybody should come back there. It's tremendous. I need to know what company to start buying stuff from. Wait till they announce before you buy anything. I love the countdown. Adds a lot of drama and excitement. Of course it does. You know, but Steve doesn't like it. And to be honest, as much of a countdown fan as I am, with this participation rule, we might as well not have a regular season, as it's useless. Well, that's a different story. You know, could there be some adjustments made to the countdown to make it a little more reflective of something? We had that discussion on Ignition last night. And I think, yes, I think there are some things that can be done to make it better or more reflective. I believe that winning a race should be worth a little more than it is. That's all. Like we made precedent this year with the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge wins. And Reinhart has pointed out that winning those elimination races, winning the whole Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, which is getting to the semifinals and then beating the person that you raced and then winning the final round of the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, pays less points than being low of one round at any point in qualifying, like being low of the round, right? Being low ET of a qualifying session at any point, plays less points. Maybe that's something worth tweaking, because that's, you know, winning in a competition. Maybe winning a race should give you a couple of points that you carry over to the countdown. I know that's kind of a NASCAR thing, but they did it for a reason. So, you know, Justin Ashley is a perfect example. With all the wins he got in the regular season, he stumbled out of the gate and was immediately overtaken, and now is 108 points out. Is he out of it? No, if he wins the last two races, he needs help though. He doesn't control his own destiny at all. Those 5 wins, should they have been worth more? What were they doing? Were they racing differently than other people? I would be open to discussion of how to make the countdown, tweak it to make it more reflective of who had the best season in general. And finishing 13th because you attempted to qualify. Like, should we send someone home? Should we say, no, you finished 11th. That is not 10th. So you're not championship eligible. Should we do that? It's one of those, you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Well, as soon as you do that, Top Fuel 723, and the person that finishes 11th is Tony Schumacher and Sean Langdon, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to just say, yeah, well, I didn't deserve it. No, I think that you're going to have a backlash in a different direction. And we'll be talking about that. That rule came from somewhere. You know, the sponsors will make noise. You know, we're not involved in the championship, and this is ridiculous, and we're going to pull our sponsorship and go to another sport. You know, there's a lot that goes into this that most regular fans don't get to know about. So I can see it both ways, that part of it. I can see it both ways. Before the countdown, everyone would go into test mode after Indy because they knew that who would be champion. Yes, that's true. A lot of people would go into test mode and would stumble down the stretch, and, you know, they were just one-off races to see who won the Wally, and nobody cared. And instead, you've got an intense focus on the countdown. Like 99% of the media out there is focused on who's going to win the countdown and what it means, and the playoffs and the championships and Tony Stewart leading the points. And then 1% of the media is focused on whether Steve Torrence likes the countdown or not. Good luck with your Miami Dolphins. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, we're going up against the Eagles. You're going down, Fletcher Cox. That's right. You heard me. Thanks, Joe. Love WFO. Nope. This is it for the week. We're going to go big finish. Pow. Leah and Matt together. A little recap of the Stampede of Speed. We got our Ignition podcast in the archive. Me and Reinhart yesterday covering it all. That's a good week of WFO. And now I will mow the lawn. That's what I will do. I will mow. I'm going to do a little work on Project Pontiac also. Going to try to figure out what's what. Get some things sorted out. I got a race car trailer that needs to be, I got to bring it up to Lakeland. I got projects. And just like that, we're back in Vegas next week. We're going to Vegas, baby. Vegas. Yeah, those of you who are interested, the Project Pontiac is continuing along. Gary Stinnett has ordered pistons, and folks at Straub Technology is going to do the engine cylinder hone and machine work. Got a lot of people on board helping out with this project so that we can get this car out there running Super Street. Now, after watching the Jegs All-Stars in Super Street, why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? 001 versus 000 in Super Street. Can I do that? I can't do that. But we'll get out there anyway. We'll have a little bit of fun, and it's going to be great. Super excited. And it's exciting to hear so many people want to be involved. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors like the folks at Foggett, Total Seal Piston Rings, our Patreons, of course, and Frank Hawley's and Sam Tech and Bernie Speed Shop. You can always help WFO by purchasing a little WFO gear in the store when it goes on sale. Always love that stuff. And download the mobile app. If you're new to the show, go to the App Store, type in WFO Radio, and download the app, and you never miss a show. We've even got an address on the website where I will send you some free stickers. You just got to do a self-addressed stamped envelope. And that's it. What a show. Thanks to Leah. Thanks to Matt. Thanks to Ashley for setting it all up. Great time at the Stampede of Speed. Enjoy your weekend. On to Vegas. WFO.